No one is smarter than everyone. Let's continue to get better together. Welcome, everyone. We are live from the ATL, Hotlanta, Georgia, and we are so thankful that you chose to spend a few minutes with us today. Our guest today, Patrick Abad, is not only a colleague in this automotive space, he has become a dear friend. And, when you meet or you hear about particular people, and then you meet them the first time, and maybe the first time they're like, "Oh my gosh, they're exactly what I heard or what I thought." But then you get to know them, and you're like, Patrick is the real deal, and we are going to just jump right into it today. There's a lot of things going on in our space, in the automotive space. I think a lot of the things that Patrick's going to talk about today transcend automotive because it's about people. But Patrick Abad and I are going to talk about how to absolutely recession-proof your business, recession-proof your dealership. Patrick Abad, General Manager of Beaver Toyota in Cumming, Georgia. Patrick, welcome, my brother.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me. I feel super cool to be on Tim Talks. I got to say, I've watched all the episodes, and I'm honored to be here, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you again. Continued success. Beaver Toyota, I have the privilege, and there's a lot of phenomenal dealerships that we have the privilege to partner with, but there's a few that people actually get on flights and go visit. There's several of them out there. Yours is one of those dealerships, probably one of the, if not the coolest dealership as the way it's laid out. They just did a phenomenal job from the furniture to the I was going through it last time, and you may call me silly, but I was taking pictures of the furniture. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to find a chair like that. That's so bad. But I mean, it's just phenomenal, the atmosphere. But brother, let's just dive into it. To quote Game of Thrones, we all watch the same news. We see interest rates, we see gas prices, we see people, maybe clenching the pocketbook a little more. Talk about recession-proofing your dealership. I mean, what does that mean to you? And how do you create, to quote you, a recession-proof ecosystem in your business?
Well, that's it. I mean, you're so right, Tim, because the news and really, if you just listen to people, it would scare the crap out of you right now, right? But at the end of the day, and we say this all the time at this dealership, you got to put a bubble around your dealership, and your job is as the leaders in our dealership is to protect our bubble, right? I actually do not care about what this industry does when I talk about sell car. I don't care how many cars a dealer down the street sells. I know that 30,000 cars are sold every single month in Georgia. I just have to go sell my 600. So if that number cuts down to 15,000, Tim, do we really care? As long as I get my 600. Now, I care for the industry, but I have a responsibility to my people. And that's the bubble that we created. I think it starts, the reality is you have to start with living in the truth, right? And I think a lot of people miss living in the truth. We're not as good as we think we are right now. And if you start with the truth, then you can grow from there and start to build that recession-proof ecosystem that I talk about. And the ecosystem, I said, it's multiple different components, but I think with new cars, if you really want to build an recession-proof ecosystem with new cars, you've got to own your backyard. And today, again, we're not that good, right? So I'll always go back to we're not as good as as these financial statements say we are. When you talk about owning your backyard, there's a lot of people out there who are holding out for that $8,000 deal on the car when somebody in their backyard wants to buy it. When I talk about chasing new car volume in your PMA, I'm not saying go lose money to sell cars. I'm saying you have to make sure that you are taking care of your backyard. Are you selling the car in your backyard on new cars? You do that, guess what that does? It fills your service department, right? That ecosystem, when I talk about the ecosystem, it's all pieces of the dealership, right? You put that new car in your backyard, and if you have a collision center, something happens, now you're feeding your collision center, right? You sell that car in your backyard, you're probably going to have a trade that you're going to take. Now you're filling your internal, and you just create this ecosystem of money that's flowing to your people, right? Then you have used cars. Totally different animal, in my opinion. Listen, I don't know if I'm right. I just know that these things are working. And when I say chase used cars, right? Right now, let's be honest, is there a better time ever to chase used cars? No, gross profit. It's not a better time ever to chase volume itself. Used cars, you got to chase outside your market. If you want to grow your business, you got to really expand your footprint in pre-owned cars, right? Because everybody talks about there's a shortage of used car inventory. There is no shortage. There's a shortage of people willing to pay what it takes to have used cars. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I look at used cars, I say chase it. Why? Because look what it does to your dealership, right? Used cars touches almost every single department. It touches your collision center, it touches your service department, it touches your accounting office, it touches your sales department. So if you can chase used cars, the volume behind used cars will keep you in business no matter what. You become a good used car dealer, you are recession proof. And I think the third part of an ecosystem is having a retention strategy to keep all these people, right? Like you could do a really good job of selling cars, but if you don't have a retention strategy to bring them back, you're in trouble in a recession, right? You want these people filling your dealership no matter what happens outside in this world, right? And I'm talking about service, and I'm talking about parts, and I'm talking about your collision center. Like you have to have a retention strategy. And when I'm talking about retention strategy, I'm talking things like lifetime oil changes. A lot of dealerships do that. Great. Lifetime warranty ties them back to the store. A great experience ties them back to the store. Amenities, give them reasons to come back to the dealership. And I think that's where the ecosystem starts, right? Is selling a whole bunch of cars and giving them a whole bunch of reasons to come back that just keep people connected to your deal. Am I making sense?
100%. And you talk about pre-owned cars, and you mentioned something there. There's not a lot of people out there willing to do what it takes to keep that supply and to keep, those to sell as many cars as you're selling. You have to keep. I'm guesstimating some 400 plus cars on the ground. Am I right?
I have 550 right now, used cars.
550 pre-owned cars on the ground. Let's unpack a little bit about that. I'm sure there's going to be dealers listening right now and saying, how in the world? Number one, you don't just wake up one day and you start, you automatically have 500 cars on the ground, but you have to start somewhere, and you obviously build up to that. Something unique that happened, or that I see in your dealership, and you've told me that you've even expanded on it, is that everybody that gets service in your dealership. And by the way, talk about that experience. We have one of our longtime Carnell family members, Olivia Lane. Her father lives up by your dealership. Coming close for this one, does not even drive a Toyota. I think he has, and forgive me if I'm wrong here, a Ford or a Chevy, but the service is so good and his experience is so good that he brings his vehicle to Beaver Toyota, and he brings his non-Toyota because of the experience they provide. But I believe you once told me, and I saw it, I want to make sure nothing changed, that every single person that is, getting an oil change, getting a 30,000 mile service, whatever it is, gets an appraisal on their vehicle every time, every day. Is that correct?
Well, we make it easy to do that.
We make it easy to do that. Okay.
We make it easy to do that. Not everybody gets it because, some people want to be bothered. But we have three different ways we do it. We do attack our equity mining. I got 5 guys that do that all day long. They attack the people coming through service. And when I say attack, is they're doing all the background data before the customers come in, right? So I have that. Then we have post service, right? Hang tag goes in every car. Scan a QR code in seconds. You can get you can get a value on your car. Or I also have them sitting in the QR codes sitting in the customer's lounges so they can scan them and they can get their values instantly, and it tells us who to go talk to, right? So what we're doing is we're making it easy for our customers if they really want, right? And let's be honest, right now everybody wants to know, really, what's my car's worth? Because they're hearing the news and they're hearing we have none and values are so crazy, so they want to know what theirs is worth. And the second part to that is it tells my people who to go talk to first, right? So instead of hitting everybody, what we've done is streamlined it.
Got it.
Yeah.
And how many from those 3 different things or 4+ things that you're doing? And this is excluding, the war room that I saw where people, where there's 10 screens or show and all the auctions going every day. How many vehicles are you buying that way? You might not have an exact number. I'm just curious. That
consists of 80 to 100 cars, and not just buying, but trading them out, right? That's about 80 to 100 cars a month just from those guys. The war room operation, totally separate, right? The war room's nothing but acquisition. That's all they do. They don't sell cars. They're just out there, private purchases, which we did 85 street purchases last month. And you want to make some money on used cars. That's the way to go. Right? No auction fees. Better determination and accuracy on reconditioning and all those things that happen in there.
So ladies and gentlemen, so the first big point obviously is creating that ecosystem and creating the lifetime of that customer and giving them an experience that they want to come back, that you treat them right, and different, not just one, but multiple ways. There's 3 different ways in the service drive. Obviously, there's a war room where multiple people every single day are looking at auctions and also looking at buying them from the public and directly from the consumer. Lots of things there to do that type of volume. I want to take another step to recession-proofing your dealership. You said something a while back that really, I think, because I've seen the outside space that you created and all the stuff that you guys do for the community. Let's talk about that. I'm a little jealous because most of you know my background. I spent decades in the dealership. 2 decades having the privilege to be a sales manager or managing a dealership at a Toyota and a Lexus store. But I've never experienced anything like this, to where grosses were where they were and so on and so forth. It's absolutely phenomenal. But when you talk about community and creating that type of environment and that outreach, over 70% across the nation that buy a vehicle from your dealership, they service at an aftermarket location, a Jiffy Lube, a Midas, whatever it is. One of the main reasons is time and experience, and you've created that. So let's talk about community outreach, being that go-to spot, and then the environment that you've created there at your store.
Well, I'll start with the environment. I'll do it backwards because I think that's a really important point that you're making. Like, there is a lot of people that go and service at independence because of the time and convenience. And as a dealer, your reputation in your service department is 100% determined on how well you execute the hour oil change. That's it, right? It's not about the repair work. Yeah, quality work and all that stuff can jeopardize your reputation. But if you want to build your reputation, knock the hour oil change out of the park, right? And so now, do we do that 100% of the time? No, but we do it pretty darn good. I would say 85% of the time we're executing that with a car wash included, right? Because everybody gets a car wash. But for the people who didn't, right, we have a full restaurant that has their alcohol liquor license. So you can come here, get a wonderful burger, have a beer. You can go outside to our sitting area outside. We have a fire pit, full TV, bar area. We have massage chairs upstairs. Our salon will be open in the next probably 25 days. We're just waiting on some back ordered furniture. We have an 8-person salon that's going upstairs. So you can come here, get your hair cut, have a beer, sit in a massage chair. And listen, does that help you retain customers? Maybe a few, right? Maybe a few. I'm a wholehearted believer, Tim, that if people want to service with you, they will buy from you. And if people want to buy from you, they probably will service with you. And, we're proud. We're proud. We're typically number 1 in retention in all of Southeast Toyota every single month, right? We bounce back and forth between 1 and 2, but we've not dropped below 2 in years. Right? That means people are doing business with us, are coming back. And it isn't just because we have beer and burgers. It's because that's complemented with the experience, right? And are we perfect? Again, no, we're not. None of us are, right? No dealership is perfect, right? We make our mistakes as well, but we have a genuine care for the customer. And I think that's really, really, really important, right? A lot of people say, I have a great experience, but they couldn't even define what that experience is, right? And I think it's super important that people understand, like, define what your good experience is. Is it fast? Is it easy, right? And again, are you continuing to work on it? Because we hear it all the time. People say, fix the roof when the sun is shining. I love that statement, except people don't even know what to do. Like, okay, cool. If you're not a roofer, how do you go fix your roof, right? Where's the leak? I don't even know because it's not raining, right? I get that. I love that statement, but I also think it's becoming an overused statement and not many people are doing anything about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and I on a personal note, and I think, unfortunately, again, winter's coming, the storm's coming, and I'm not a pessimist by any stretch of the imagination. For a lot of dealerships, we need to pay attention because it's not going to start with a leak. I was telling you before we went live, My son goes to Arizona State. He came in town for the weekend just to see him. I was taking him to the airport, 25 minutes from my house. By the time I got back I don't know, it wasn't even raining on the way to the airport. It was but in my little section of Atlanta in Peachtree City, Georgia, unfortunately, and we went through this, I go back into my neighborhood. There was torrential downpour. One house is literally on fire. My wife and our house burnt down in 2018. So even the smell, and like my backyard ended up getting flooded, and there was trees. Like that. It immediately changed everything. And I think, unfortunately for that, my favorite proverb, and I try not to preach, but I'm going to anyway. My favorite proverb that I live by is the prudent see danger and turn from it, but the simple keep going and suffer harm. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're trying to do today. We're trying to say, for all you over 40 folks like me, danger, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson. Things are coming. But recession proofing, doing the blocking and tackling, preparing yourself, supporting the structure of your windows, maybe, resealing and caulking the windows and making sure that there's no leaks. These are some of the things, making sure that you have someone, all they do is your equity tool, making sure that everybody has a hang tag, and you're creating that ecosystem, creating an environment like Patrick is talking about, to where people, maybe they don't even have your brand, but yet because of the experience are coming in. Let's touch on, a little bit of the community piece that you guys do. You guys really reach out and love on people and in the community and make that known. I do want to say this, there's a lot of people hating on car dealers right now about how much money they're making. Okay. The same people were probably hating on car dealers when it was, $1,000 below invoice, and you prayed you made money in the F&I piece. The dealerships, for the most part, most dealers are phenomenal people. They're charitable people, and I would argue that the local car dealership in most cases is the anchor of that community. They support the ball teams and everything else like that. So before we throw stones, ladies and gentlemen that aren't working inside the dealership, let's really think about that anchor of the community that is the car dealership, and just give them a little idea. Again, we're talking about ecosystem. We're talking about people. We're talking about trades. We're talking about experience. But let's talk about outside. How do you, we're full gamut here at Tim Talks.
Let's be honest, Tim. Let's literally be honest. Who will get you through the recession, and when it strikes your dealership? Your community. Your 100%. Community will get you through the recession. So there's two things that the community has to do. They have to trust you. And they have to believe in you, right? And how you do that. And I think, Glenn Lundy really says this well. And I love Glenn Lundy. I'm part of 800% Elite. I love what he says. We have to tell our story. So many of us are doing so many good things out there. We just don't tell anybody. Right. And it's so crazy. Right. And I think we have to do a better job of telling the story. When he told me that, when I went through the list of things that we do in the community, and he's like, dude, you have got to tell the story. He's right. Right. And it's very easy to tell that story. Right. I'll tell you some of the things. We've connected with the Forsyth County school system. Like, we are embedded there. We support their teachers of the year. We have, the local school behind us, I just put in it was an older school, and they needed some sponsorship to put in those touchless water fountains. We went and we handled that for, and it's not just about writing checks, right? I've got some kids, I've got some employees that are going to mentor in the Mentor Me project, which identifies at-risk kids of not graduating, and they mentor them through the project. We did with the sheriff's office. They had their 7 sheriffs of the year. I put them on a car dealer type trip. Like, they got to pick between going to the Bahamas or Disney World with their family. We gave them spending cash. We paid for that, right? These are people serving our community that we're trying to give back. And Tim, you couldn't have said it any better. Like, as a dealership who's super successful right now, and all of us are, we have massive net profits. We have a responsibility back to our community. It's that same community that we push back now, and we tell the story that we give back, and we tell the story that is going to pull us through, because they are going to want. I remember when COVID first happened, and everybody thought the world was coming to an end. We were all going to die, all that stuff, right? And I remember one of the most successful campaigns we did was the first month that we kind of felt, I think it was July of that year after, the March shutdown and all that. We did a campaign where we took $250 out of every car that we sold and we gave it to a local privately owned business. The meat markets here, the hardware store down here, and we gave customers a choice and said, okay. And I had a lady every day from the cars we sold yesterday go out and get $250 gift cards to those. We put $100,000 back in the community that month, right? We never told that story. I never asked anybody to do it. But man, I can tell you, we still do business with people today who remember how we were giving back into the community. The Wilkes Meat Market here in Cumming, Georgia, I think we ended up giving them like $10,000 worth of gift cards, right? Because everybody, that was a time when everybody was buying meat, right? So there's so many things that you can do, but you need to do it, right? And it can't be just always writing checks either, right? You got to be hands and feet. You got to be hands and feet. Get your team out there and volunteer and write some checks, right? This is a time we can write checks. And it's so funny because I don't want to pick on us as an industry, but there's a lot of people that are saying things like, well, winter's coming, so I can't do it. Right. But when things were good, they didn't do it either. And when things are bad, right? When we were losing $2,000 a car, I get it. But now you're not losing $2,000 a car, right? When are you going to chase volume? Right. There's no better time. When are you going to give back to the community? There's no better time than right now. And listen, I know things might change for some, but if you do these things now, it doesn't have to.
What an amazing idea of being able to support, local businesses that were struggling, especially during the beginning of COVID. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why Patrick continues to grow and his team continues to grow that dealership, their footprint. Do you honestly think for a second that those police officers, those business owners are going to even think about going to buy or sell or recommend or refer, whatever you may say, any other dealership other than Beaver Toyota? Obviously, this dealership, Patrick and his team is a contender. There's also people probably listen to this. I want to encourage you. There's a lot of people that will listen to something like this. They will listen to a sales meeting. They will maybe get fired up, and then it falls on deaf ears. I call them Sunday school words. Everybody puts on their Sunday go-to meetings. They go to service, wherever they worship on a Sunday or a Saturday or whatever they do, and everybody's on their best behavior. But what are you like? What happens when you go back to the dealership, back to your business? Are you doing these things? Patrick and his team has proven. And there's other amazing dealerships out there. I happen to be the story here at Beaver Toyota is so phenomenal. And obviously we're here in Atlanta, but the dealerships that we either want to grow and continue to get better. That's what we say on Tim Talks. That's our tagline. No one is smarter than everyone. Let's just continue to get better together. We've been saying it for years and years and years. And you either believe it or you don't. You either, or you're just hand waving and saying, oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And then there's no action. What could we do collectively as a automotive space if we just did this? I'm going to touch on, as we land the plane, just a little bit about, your equity in people. You had a lot of people follow you, and I won't say the number. It's quite a few from your previous location in Tampa, Florida, 550 miles or 500 miles to work for you. They say people don't leave jobs, they leave leaders. And the fact that those people said, you know what, I want to be with Patrick Abad. Give us a little glimpse in why. You talk about people, personal equity, and so give us a little glimpse of how you pour into your people to, again, not only create that ecosystem of business, but that ecosystem of people wanting to get better and people fired up as they come into work on a daily basis. And what in the world would make a lot of people, move 500 miles, move their families, move everything to work in Cumming, Georgia?
Well, you've heard me say it a million times. It's equity, right? When you build equity with people, and if you define equity, right? in people, I look at it, it's very simple. You have to come through for them, right? And when you come through for people, and you've heard me say this before, Tim, if you come through for them financially, personally, and emotionally, those three things, you begin to build equity. But you can't just build equity and then expect something back. That's not what happens, right? You have to keep building it, keep building it. And then when you need them, they will come through for you because you have built all this equity. And when I say come through from financially, like there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of ones who followed who needed financial help. Got it. Never. I always, in leadership, I say this all the time. Your your number one job is to come through for people. And in leadership, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, right? We both love John Maxwell. He says that. But reality is with leadership, like coming through for people has been my saving grace. I hate to say it, but in leadership, you have to be a people pleaser. I hate to say that, right? Because you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to be a people. Mom always told me you shouldn't care what people think. I care what everybody thinks. I do. I care. But that's different for every single person. Some person might need me financially. Some people might need me emotionally. They just want to have a conversation and talk, right? Some people you just got to be there for them. And I think as you build this equity over time, right? And when I made some of the calls and said, "Hey, I need some help," like I don't think anybody told me no. And they came up here and they helped because it was years of not saying no to them. And that call me a people pleaser, I don't care. At the end of the day, I live off faith-based principles, right? That's what I love about Mr. and Mrs. Beaver. This company operates based on faith-based principles. And when you think of life that way, and you think of how you treat people, not one person that I brought, I said, man, when I bring this person up, they're going to make us so much money. No, that's not what I said. I said, when these people come up, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pay them fair. I'm not going to pay them the most. I'm going to pay them fair for the job that they're doing. I'm going to treat them with respect, and I'm going to give them opportunity for growth. You do those three things with people, Tim, you keep them forever. You keep them forever. And the crazy part about it is I had the best pay plan in Atlanta. And then I'm just going to go back to selling cars. I had the best pay plan in Atlanta when I first got up here. I don't have the best pay plan now because I pay flat. I pay flats because we weren't making any gross profit years ago in Atlanta. Now we are. I don't have the best pay plan in Atlanta. My guys can go somewhere else, sell 8 cars, and make what it takes to make 20. You got to sell 20 to make here. But they don't leave. They don't leave. You know why? Because we do all the other things that I'm talking about. Pay them fair. Okay, we're paying them fair. Treat them with respect, give them opportunity for growth, right? And they're so bought into what the future of this business is going to be. And they've seen the trajectory of not just their careers, but their personal lives too, right? I mean, when you talk about being there for your people, I'm not an expert at it. So we have a chaplain who's an expert at being there for people. He comes in here. He just finished 10 a.m. He just finished his prayer not too long ago. He prays for our people, right? And I think that's a big part of our success. Sorry to go that way, but he's there for our people, right? So we're coming through from emotionally, we're coming through from spiritually, financially, and I just think if you keep coming through for people over and over and over again and not expecting something, when you need something, it's done.
Well, I'm just going to land the plane right there because I don't think it could get any better than that. We were going to talk about, a few formless websites and stuff like that. I don't even want to go there. I just think that if you did not, play, rewind, listen to these points that have been made from Patrick, just phenomenal. Again, I know we both love reading Maxwell's stuff, but it's pretty simple. It's the law of attraction. Something's going on there. Wherever you are, I don't care if you're in a rural market and you've got the smallest PMA out there, your projected market area, you can create something special on the way you create your ecosystem, to quote Patrick, to where people will drive to work there. It's the law of attraction, and then the law of duplication, being able to duplicate the process over and over and over again, and having the willingness. I think that's a big issue we have right now. And
Right.
You mentioned it earlier, is
right.
we're not as good as the financial statements say we are right now. We are not, and being able to have the integrity and character, because there's a lot of people walking around with their chest out, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not if the financial statement's not better now than it was, a couple years ago, then something's definitely wrong. Hopefully that encouraged you today to replay this. As always, please do us a favor and subscribe. Go ahead and click that link on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Tim Talks is available now, and you will be able to share this and maybe take this, maybe use this with your leadership team at your business, at your dealership. So Patrick, as we land the plane, I'm going to give you the floor. Where does, just how do you want to close this out? This has just been phenomenal. It's information overload, like drinking from a fire hose, but you live it, brothers. Go ahead and land the plane for us.
No, I would just say this. Our industry is full of amazing people who do amazing things. And I've gotten, what we've built here is not something that I just made up. It's something that I've gotten from all these amazing people over the years. And I always try to do it better than I heard it. Right. And if I try to do it better than I heard it, then I'm going to make a difference. And I think you've said it a few times about making a difference in people's lives. And I really attach to that. And I think we are in that type of business, and our platform is just automotive. And I think we're so lucky and we're so blessed. And I think, but I will agree. And we both said it, take action and do something, right? Right now, if you chase volume, and I keep going back to chasing volume, but if you chase the volume with a good gross profit, you can really do some amazing things, right? You can do some amazing things. And I would say now's a really good time, right? To do that. And you're never going to have a better time to do it. So if you're not going to do it now, you're probably not going to do it later.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick. As we wrap up yet another episode of Tim Talks, please do us a favor. And again, as I said, please subscribe as we continue to try to get better together. Please stay tuned for our next exciting episode coming to you soon. And as always, first of all, thank you again, Patrick. Listen, we're all in this together, and no one is smarter than everyone. So let's just keep getting better together. We'll see you soon.